Thank you, and welcome again to the Insights Career Network Seekers and Allies Meetup. We do these every couple of weeks, twice a month, usually on Mondays, unless there's a holiday. First and third Monday. Don't worry, we'll send you a reminder because you're all members. That's how you got here. Um, Doug Keith is going to be our host today. He's one of our co-founders, and he's also the president of Future Research Consulting. He's gathered together several of our job seekers who have found success recently. They're going to tell us how they got there. A big thank you to all the volunteers who make the ICN work. Our co-founders there on the left, our volunteers there on the right, who are each doing something unique and helpful to get the word out about either seekers or the jobs that we think they can fill, right? So Megan and Eugenia are out there hunting for those jobs and reposting them so that if you're not following the Insights Career Network on LinkedIn, make sure you're doing that because we're posting 150, 200 jobs a month there. We're resharing those jobs that people tag with MRX Pros. We're finding them in other places. We're sharing them. So go there, join the LinkedIn group as well. So this is the only place where you can talk to each other as members. We also have the active Insights job seekers list. If you're not on there and you're actively looking for work, get on that list. You can find all these links at insightscareernetwork.org, by the way. If you're looking to hire, go find those people on that list. And if you're looking for work, we have several new jobs on the Insights job referral list. And I'll get to a few of those in just a moment. Before we hop into that, Tim Keogh is here. I'm going to go ahead and run through a couple of findings for him. He did a little deep dive into our current seekers list. I'll tell you right now, we've got 363 people on there since September. We keep this list cold every 120 days. We drop people off. The last 95 days, 95 have come in since December 1st. What you'll find is you look at this little data set here. This will change as we go. We have a lot of experienced people out there. That blank down there, that 36%, that's going to go away because we've changed the registration process to capture this years of experience. We've got the main cities, of course, the main states that Insights is active in. We're fully represented in there. We're also got several members now going on outside of the U.S. and in Canada. We can give you more and more information about this as we dig into it, and we'll share this deck with you so you can dive in a little bit more. I think one thing that stands out here, maybe Tim, maybe you do want to hop in and tell me what are the one or two things here that stand out for you. Are you here, Tim?
Hey,
I'll
Brian.
tell you. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, this was just very high level. And you can see I added a category in there, just kind of put in a couple of buckets to quantify a little bit clearer. But yeah, as you said, there's a lot of senior folks out here in the market. And it looks like, the areas where we're weakest in terms of our skill base, obviously is up there on the right hand when you talk about IA is one of the biggest things. Nobody's doing it yet, but it will be. And then on the other end, you've got a lot of leadership skills and talent out there. And so I think that's kind of influencing the market a bit, because when you have all that experience, you certainly see people starting migrating into those leadership roles and less into the individual contributor roles. And I think the other one to kind of point out here is business intelligence. I think if everybody's out there looking, you're starting to see BI becoming a big player in the space, and it's becoming a morph of CX, UX, and then your basics of marketing, communications, intelligence around the business itself. So that's something, if you have a little bit more of a background in business management, operations, you might want to kind of look into these business intelligence roles, because it's fairly loosely defined, but highly analytical data management, especially if SQL, Python, those are all big skills required for the business intelligence arena, and it's just growing. It's probably going to surpass CX in the next couple of years, I think.
Oh, thank you, Tim. I totally agree. I can totally see those skills. Those are transferable skills that researchers have and go into this business analytics. I've been active there in that space for a while myself. And I can tell you there's way more industry application there outside of market research for our skills. Thank you, Tim, for doing that dive. We'll come back to you at another point for some more insight, I guess. Let's see. Do we have Sarah online? Sarah Weber.
Hi, how are you doing?
Sarah, welcome. Thanks. Sarah keeps up our calendar and goes out every month looking for opportunities for you guys to meet in person and online. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brian. My name's Sarah Weber. I'm just a new grad from the Michigan State MSMR program. I just graduated in December, and I've been volunteering for the ICN doing the events calendar for a few months. It's a great place to volunteer at if you have a few extra hours in your month. I know there's going to be some opportunities to do some volunteer work coming up, so definitely keep that in mind. It's a great group of people. And some events coming up here. Just mark your calendars for our next Insights Career Network meetup. That'll be on January 22nd. We'll get back together on Monday at noon CT. Also have QCRA coming up here in next few weeks in January 22nd. That is in Denver. Quirks virtual meetup, that'll be online. And I believe that's free to go to on February 1st. Another free to visit, attend virtually event is IIEX Health, also on February 1st. Got a UX conference coming up. This one, the UX 360, does have a cost associated with it. I think it's a few $100s, but if you're really into UX, that's something maybe to think about. A few events, some webinars from the Insights Association coming up, as well as SOMAR and WIRE down the side here. And I have the events pages for these great organizations, in addition to a new list of UX events I pulled from our friends over at User Testing in a spreadsheet that's linked off of this QR code here. So if you're interested in these events or any more coming up, you're welcome to visit those events pages at the spreadsheet. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, make sure you follow up with Sarah afterwards if you're looking for somebody to join your team too, because Sarah's been at it. She's been helpful and dependable. Thank you, Sarah. Here are some of the jobs that are on the Insights job referral list. These are the most recent ones. You can see we had a big rush of them recently this week as we posted saying that we're going to do this meetup. Several jobs there on the client side, especially all those Kimberly-Clark ones that are still open down there. So if you're looking for work, go find those links on the insightscareernetwork.org. All right, so the next meetup we're going to have is January 22nd. And that is going to be one where we just kind of we're going to tell you everything that we've got going on in the ICN and where we're going to take it in the next where we think we're going to take it in the next year or so. And to do that, we're going to need people to help us do that, because our co-founders have been who've been organizing this and running this thing for the last couple of years. We're all volunteers. We got to move on. We got to hand this on to other people to make it theirs, and so the Insights Career Network can own its own community. So January 22nd. Is our next meetup. Come find out where you can help, either as a leadership, as a volunteer in one of these committees, or just in task here and there where we give you some hand. So January 22nd. I'd like to welcome Doug Keith to the stage. Doug Keith has been co-hosting these with me for the last couple of years. And I really appreciate working with him. He's done so much for the community. If you may have met him through the ICN or through the MRX Pros or any other industry organization he's been out there mixing with. QRCA too. So Doug, come to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Just wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody. Welcome back. I'm glad that you're able to be with us. We have 80 people here today. And, you know, I know it can be challenging to be out there in the job search, but on the other hand, as a couple of people have mentioned, this is just a great place to be able to meet other people who are, you know, finding their way together. Brian mentioned forming small groups to be able to work together as you're going through your job search. And we had Phil Terry last year who talked about Never Search Alone, his book Never Search Alone, and they have founded job search councils across the country where you can work with small groups. So I definitely would suggest looking into that. So today what we're going to be doing is, this is just sort of like a warm up for the new year. We have 3 people who have been involved with ICN for a good while. 2 of them found positions and one is in the middle of a job search right now. But in working with them, what I found was they had just really developed some interesting techniques And some of these you may have seen. I know when Stephen Griffiths talked in December, he may have mentioned some of these things, but it's good to reiterate them. And even when I do one-on-one conversations with people, I tend to get the same kinds of questions. And some of them are related to what we're going to be talking about today. And I think this information really is applicable from everybody from recent college grads all the way through veterans in the industry. And I'll just tell you as a sidebar, I was talking with my niece who's graduating from college at the end of the spring. And I was telling her about my work in ICN, and I was telling her about networking, and she was telling me, well, that's not really how it works. And I said, well, actually, this is exactly how it works. And then she started saying, well, Uncle Doug, maybe you're right. So because people, I think, are, as much as anything, reluctant to do the type of connecting that really helps you be successful. And this extra effort, I think, really makes a huge difference. That's why I invited these three people here today. You want to go on to the next slide then? Great. So the three people we have today, Lauren Colson, Andreas Xenofontos, and Dave Melnick are going to be speaking. Our first guest today is Lauren Colson. I've been working with Lauren. I met her in the summer of 2022 when she was initiating her first job search, and she's been recently looking again. And I found that she has this great approach to connecting with people cold through contacting with people through LinkedIn. So Lauren, I'd like you to have you step up and just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
Hello, thank you so much, Doug. Hello, everyone. So my name is Lauren, and I really appreciate the opportunity to go ahead and share how I use LinkedIn to expand my network connections. So first, let's review a couple of the incentives that we have for always continuously growing our networks. So for me, it really helps to provide clarity for where I want my career to go as being an early career professional. It also allows me to learn about how market research operates in other industries, and it also helps to like form the bigger picture for me between qual and quant research. And then also when I make posts on LinkedIn, it also reaches a broader audience based on all of those individuals I've connected with over the years. And then I also use it to learn something new in the industry, if that's like talking about someone with AI, talking about another career professional about what they think about AI in the future or what they're doing now. And then it also allows me to meet other amazing people in my profession. So how do I go about making these connections? So I form connections based on finding someone who has like a similar interest, those who are part of a professional group, such as I graduated from Michigan State. So if I see that someone else went to Michigan State, I will reach out to them. And then also if they make a post that I find interesting. So how do I go about this? It's really simple. Basically, I just write up a short introductory message. So for example, I have hi, person's name. I saw your recent post about connecting with students, connecting to students with work opportunities. I didn't necessarily fit into the group that she was looking for because I'm not a student anymore, but I expressed that I still wanted to become part of her network. Another example, I show how someone else I saw a post about AI, and I wanted to speak with this person about what they thought about AI in the market research field. And then someone else had a job that in a company that I was really interested in learning more about. So I used that as a way to connect with them. As far as discussion topics during these meetings, I will usually ask about their career path, what tools they found useful throughout like becoming to get to like where they are today. I use it to learn about their work environment and style at different various companies or within other industries. I also love to know what they enjoy the most about the profession. And then I also create questions based on what their LinkedIn profile says. So looking into their education, their interests, their previous work experience. And then I also like to throw in a couple questions about like the future of market research, or just other questions that I'm curious to have this person answer. And then at the end of the meeting, I make sure to go ahead and thank the person for their time. And to keep the discussion going, I also ask them to connect me to someone else they think I should have a conversation with. Okay, and then just as an indie reminder, I just want to tell everyone not to give up, because there will be times when people do not get back to you, and that can be a bit discouraging. But with this method, it really allows you to broaden your connections and talk to more people who share the same interests or who are also in market research. Okay, thank you.
So Lauren, one of the things I'd ask you about is what kind of success you have with making these connections. How has it really worked out for you?
Yeah, so I found that people are more than usually more than willing to have discussions with me. There can be issues with I guess just like fitting a time into their schedule. They're like super busy, but circling back, asking like when they can, like within the next upcoming weeks or the next month, they're usually able to fit you into their schedule for like 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons I really wanted Lauren to talk about this is because of the success rate that she's had making contacts with people. And I know maybe because you're closer to having been a student, I find that people are especially willing to help people who are current students or recently are graduated, new to the job market. But I don't think it's really any different for someone who's a veteran in the industry. I had someone reach out to me who we eventually had speak on ICN here, Mike Hesser, and he reached out to me cold and said, "I looked at your profile. Looks like you do interesting stuff. Could we have a conversation?" He just wanted to talk about what he did and find out what I did. And when I was mentioning talking to my my niece and also my daughter about this, and one of the things they said is, "Well, that just doesn't feel natural. It feels like I'm just using them. It feels like they just know I'm going to ask for a job at the end." And I said, that's exactly what you don't do, is you don't ask for a job at the end. You never say you're there to ask for a job. You are there to simply have a conversation with people, and people are more than willing to have a conversation, and they're more than willing to help. Once they get to know you, I think they're really going to offer the opportunity to help you. So, when I've told multiple people about what Lauren does, like, does that really work? And I said, well, it seems to work for her. You've had, a number of interviews, you've had a lot of conversations with people. And I just think that it's, a great way to go, and that you're not, the great thing about LinkedIn is people are kind of expecting that they're going to be contacted at some point. It's not surprising to get a contact. It's not like getting it through your personal email. So I just think what you have to offer has a lot of value. So thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you.
So Andreas, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. All right. So Andreas, why don't you just tell us quickly about your background, what you're doing now, and about how you've been using LinkedIn.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, first of all, thanks, Doug, for the intro and this opportunity. Lauren, great stuff as well. I can relate to most of the stuff, as you said, as a recent graduate and currently at my first full-time job. My name is Andreas Xenofondas. I've been with ICN become, I think, 1.5 years now, through the first few weeks when it was only like 15, 20 people every time. So that's great to see the expansion of the network. And I was looking for a job, I think, for like almost 8-9 months. And I had kind of a different story from everyone. Not sure how many people can relate here. I'm originally from Cyprus, and I came in the US to play soccer at college. So I kind of have different immigration status from, I would say, the majority for everyone. Americans on like different working visas and so on. And I actually want to talk first about the first screenshot that, as you see, the media analyst opportunity. This I was trying to use LinkedIn right out of college. I'm on a time limit. I was 90 days to find a job after my visa was going to expire, and this message came on my LinkedIn. It came as a message from the recruiter of the company that I'm working right now. I think 15 days, 20 days before my visa was going to expire. And once the visa expires, you cannot legally work in the US, so I would have to return back to my country, Cyprus. And this came as it's kind of a funny story because I was asking the recruiter after I got the job, "Hey Mo, how did you find me?" and so on. And that's what her response. I was actually posting 3 times a week, trying to utilize LinkedIn with different tips on how to get a job, sharing my perspectives and projects, as you see on the screenshot on the right, tagging different people, and so on. So I was constantly posting, I think, yeah, as I said, 3 times a week. And that opportunity for the job I have right now came just because of the algorithm. So kind of the algorithm helped me. And when I asked Mo, "Hey, how did you find me?" and so on, he's like, "Hey, I built it. I wanted a recent graduate within 15 miles out of our company in Shelton, Connecticut. And you are the first one. I immediately saw your profile. You were frequently posting. You are very engaged, and I sent you this message." And the first 2 lines seems like she didn't just automate the message. She put some effort, say, "Love your LinkedIn summary," and so on. So that was great, and that was kind of the first interaction I had with the company that I'm right now. And I'm saying that, I'm sharing that story, and the power of LinkedIn, the power of the algorithm of LinkedIn is just, I had no idea about that job that I'm working right now. It's just because I was posting, the algorithm helped me, and that opportunity showed up. And I can say that I'm really, really happy. I've been with the company for like 8 months now, up hopefully for a promotion very soon. And all the immigration stuff and all the fun stuff, they're going to process with everything. So it turned out just perfect for the time being. And yeah, that's why I wanted to start with the one in the middle. The other 2 screenshots, you said, as you see, it's different, tagging different people based on some projects, sharing my project on my own website, showcasing my skill. Different recruiters have reached out at that moment, where I tagged, I think, Kelly and so on, and Alex, for example. They are very kind of famous YouTubers for analytics stuff. I remember because Alex just liked that post. I think this guy right now has like 2-3 million followers on YouTube. Great stuff about analytics, business intelligence, and so on. My post just got way more impressions just because he liked it. So again, yeah, I wanted to share that story. Hopefully, it's inspiring. I wasn't expecting it to be the place that I am right now. A year ago, I was struggling a lot, but here I am.
This is great. Thank you so much, Andreas. There's a couple of things that stuck out to me. One, again, I want to keep referencing this conversation that I had, but my daughter said, now you actually have to be like a social media expert in order to find work. And there is some measure of truth to that, in the sense that it's a way to make yourself visible, to show what you're interested in. You could think of it as sort of like a live cover letter that's routinely expressing the types of things that you want to do, the types of things that you follow, your skill set. I worked with Paul Griffiths. He's a marketing consultant. And one of the things he said is, because I post pretty regularly, and he said, "Doug, you have earned the opportunity to be able to put an ask now out, because you've shared a lot of information." And I remember another person said, like every 10th post, you should be essentially saying what it is that you're interested in, what it is that you're looking for. because you've shared a lot of information along the way. You're not just making a post that says, I'm looking, if you know of anything, let me know. And you have to think of it as a long game. And in order to play the long game, you have to share information, draw people in, and then you can talk to them about what, you know, might be important to you professionally. And just tell us a little bit about, in terms of the tagging, like I see all the hashtags that are in, how did you choose what hashtags that you would include?
So depending on the post, the different hashtag has different people following that specific hashtag. So at that point on the left, I was looking for a job, so that could help recruiters specifically that they have different LinkedIn's than I guess not normal people, but like anyone else on LinkedIn. So different companies have for their recruiters different specific LinkedIn. So that job search or like the projects helps more people follow that and helps the algorithm showcase, or if someone is looking for those specific skills like SQL and so on, kind of nudge them to find you. And yeah, like I wouldn't say there's a lot of thought behind it. I just saw a video once that explains, use some hashtags that they usually a lot of people follow those specific hashtags, and they're very broad if you want to talk about job search and so on.
Okay. Carlos asks, how do you find the topics to post about?
It was mostly I played soccer, as I mentioned. This one is specifically for the FIFA World Cup SQL analysis. So I think just projects that were interesting to me, and I would be able to showcase some of my analytical background. And that's what I did. I found a data set about in that specific example, for the FIFA World Cup squad analysis, and just start digging in, experimenting, and so on. I'm interested in sports and soccer, so that's the topics I talked about.
Yeah, I think it's really good because I saw someone ask in what are you passionate about, what are you knowledgeable about? Those are the things that you want to talk about. And when my daughter said the thing about it doesn't feel authentic, for instance, to reach out to people, it also doesn't feel authentic sometimes to just post a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn. But if you're talking about things that you are actually interested in and stuff that you would choose to read, then it has a lot more value. And I've also found sometimes if I posted something like an article that I thought was interesting, then I might ask a question so that people will start responding to it. And those types of engagements actually really pull people in. And as Andres said, then it kind of pushes you to the top of the algorithm. So then hiring managers will find you when they're doing searches. So I wouldn't necessarily, again, I know not everybody's a big fan of doing social media. I would just see it more as an opportunity, as a way to be able to talk about yourself authentically, and then people will find you when you're doing that. The posts that I think sometimes don't get as much play are the ones where it's just kind of like, here's an amazing thing that happened to me, unless it is truly an amazing thing that happened to you. Talk about things that are meaningful and that people can learn from, I think really has a lot of value. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. So Andres, thank you so much. We'll go on and talk to Dave.
Hey, everybody. Just first want to just thank the ICN team for inviting me to speak. Got a tremendous amount of support from everyone during my search, and just happy to help however I can. If anyone wants to connect or reach out, please do after the call today. Happy to keep paying it forward. Need to go forward one to the next slide. There we go. So Doug asked me to kind of start with a screenshot of this really nasty eye chart. That was my my tracking file for my search, and it just became something that was really necessary. I'm always kind of organized anyway, but it really helped me keep track of things. I broke my search out kind of into 4 channels. So there were headhunters, there were the companies that I just was interested in and wanted to reach out to. There were former colleagues, and then there was just general networking, and used a range of sources to, you know, kind of start identifying contact leads through each of those. Headhunters, I mean, I'd been through a search before. they're out there. They're not that hard to find. The companies I was interested in was either through industry knowledge or looking at trade publications like the Green Book Grit Report. I really wanted to make sure that I was working for a more innovative supplier, and they have a list of most innovative suppliers of those types of things. And for basic networking, I mean, I used anything, former connections, clients, LinkedIn groups, industry organizations, and so on. And so everything eventually just got tracked on this sheet because actually I got just a lot of great feedback from my approach. And by having dates and some notes and follow-up dates on here, it just allowed me to, maintain a little more sanity and keep track of things a little better. As far as my outreach itself, I always said my approach was kind of no pride, no shame. I would reach out to anyone and everyone. The worst they could do is say no or ghost me. And so, if I saw someone viewed my LinkedIn profile that was interesting, I'd reach out to them. If someone had an interesting post, I'd reach out to them, plus all these other contacts. So, that really built up after a while. This spreadsheet ended up having a little over 400 rows in it by the time that I got my job. But yeah, I don't, I think it's really important not to leave any stone unturned and not give up. You just never know where that lead is coming from. Doug asked me a bit about kind of my outreach itself. I think one of the most important things is just not, as much as possible, not sending form letters or form messages or generic messages. If it's a networking request, note something very specific about their experience that you want to learn from, that you might benefit from. If it's about a company that you're interested in, speak. I would always do a lot of research and talk about how they were differentiated and how my experience tied into, their business model and how I could help them grow. I got a really strong response rate from that as well. Like some people have said, more of them said, well, we're hiring in the new year, but let's have an informational interview, which was fine. I hate the term informational interviews. I thought every conversation I had was a job interview, whether it's a networking call or just, kind of a getting to know you. It's still the first impression, and it's still trying to lead to a job. And, that whole iterative process really just helps you kind of get all your responses and your answers down anyway. Networking calls, one of the really important things in that is that I always try to make it mutually beneficial. I think it's really easy to just, go into a call like that and ask a lot of questions and, and then end it and just say thanks. And I always tried to kind of make it two-way. So, if I was talking to a supplier and, they wanted to look at my connections and there was someone maybe they wanted to get in touch with for business or whatever, I put that out there just so it wasn't always, kind of one way. And as far as, working with, outreach to companies, specific companies, again, I think it's really important just not to give up on them. There's so much rejection, there's so much lack of response, but things can happen. My role, I'm a little different than Lauren and Andreas. They're earlier in their careers. I was doing this search after 35 years in my career. And so it was kind of a different dynamic in what I was trying to accomplish and how I was going about it. But just not giving up is really important. Where I ended up is a company called Bellamy Research, and they were just one of my kind of cold outreach companies that I got in touch with. The day that I sent my first message to them, I got a note back saying, "We have nothing for you. Thanks anyway." And a month later, their head of HR sent me an email, and the subject line was, "What a difference a month makes." And their CEO had noticed my resume, and they were kind of thinking about things a bit differently strategically. And they called me in, and and here I am. So it's hard and it's a grind, but persistence and diligence, while really frustrating, really definitely does pay off. But anyway, that's kind of the story. And like I said, I see some names here that I've already connected with, but anyone that just wants to talk, bounce things around, I'm happy to do it. So thanks.
Great, thank you, Dave. I'm just being mindful of the time, so maybe we can get a little chance to have breakout sessions. The reason I asked Dave to talk was Dave, through ICN, asked if we could have a conversation. And so we talked, and he talked about his background, what he's looking for. And then he said explained how he was looking at some different companies, some different areas in research. And he said, there's some people I'm trying to reach out to. And I said, well, if I can help, just send me some information. So he sent me this spreadsheet, and I was kind of blown away because there's multiple companies with multiple contacts, and it was very methodical. And I knew several of the people on his list. And so I was able to connect them with those people. But just by doing it in an organized way, it's much like a sales process. I've been using HubSpot. I saw someone mention Teal. Yep. As a way to keep track of your applications. And I've been using HubSpot to keep track of all my connections, because I'll talk to people. I forget that I had a conversation with them. I forget what we talked about, where things stand. 2 weeks later, I need to remember to check in with them to see where things stand. So having this really methodical process, I think, is really critical, and also actually takes a lot of pressure off of you, because you don't have to remember everything. You can go back in every day and say, oh, wait a minute, that's right, I wanted to reach out to that person. And I see you had the date sent, the next date, the next date. So you had a plan for when you were going to reach out to people.
Yeah, I mean, basically each morning I'd wake up and just sort on, date to know, who I needed to reach out to that day. Yep. Sometimes I wanted to bang my head on the desk seeing it, but, at least it kept me organized. And
right. When I looked for my first job in research, and I did a lot of informational interviews, and I sent out a lot of letters to people to make contacts. And the last thing I wanted to do was actually call anyone. And then I'd say, do I actually want to sit in this apartment with no job? Make a phone call today. And so I would make, like you said, no shame.
No shame, right? No pride.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's like, let me make that phone call. And again, I was surprised how willing people were to speak with me. One quick question, I think actually a lot of people here have, Dave, which is, what's the secret as a mature researcher? Almost all the jobs ask for less than 5 years, less than 10 years of experience. So how did you position yourself when you were talking to people?
For me, it was a little different because I was looking for a business development role on the supplier side. So I had been with GfK Research on their business development team. And so that's something that I was looking for. So it was a bit of a different angle. Prior to GfK, though, I had 17 years of client side insights and CRM leadership experience. So, I mean, I understood that part of it. But yeah, it was a different role from what a lot of people are looking for, being on business development.
Yeah, and I also think, I mean, that's one thing, is that the jobs you tend to see are jobs related to sales, and not everybody wants to be doing sales. But I think as much as anything, people the issue is that they are worried they have too much experience. They cost too much. They don't know what's happening in the world today, those types of things. So I think being able to have those types of conversations, and again, if you're LinkedIn, you can share. Hey, Will, could you mute yourself? Thanks. Anyway, but using LinkedIn as a way to show how current that you really are. So I think there are different ways you can show that and point to that without just saying, yeah, I kind of know what's going on. So I want to thank our 3 speakers today. Thank you for sharing your tips. Thank you for sharing your success stories. I know we talk a lot about how to do things here, but I think we don't always get to hear how it's worked for people. And these are things that have worked really well. So thank you so much again for taking the time to share those tips. So Brian, I know we have a few minutes left. Are we going to wrap up, or are we going to do quick breakouts? What were you thinking?
ChatGPT, you got a job coming up, you want to prepare for it, you can give it your information, give it the job, and it'll ask you some questions. You can go back and forth a few times and get your head straight.
Oh, wow.
And we have all these sessions. We have more than 40 recorded sessions from these Seekers and Allies meetups. You can find those at insightscareernetwork.org. This is only a few of them, but you can find tons of them. And also, we don't have a budget of any kind. We don't charge for anything. And it's the volunteer board members who actually support the operations here. So we don't have a marketing budget. So one of the best things that you can do if you want to help us is tag us in jobs, tag us in when you see somebody looking for work and needs a hand, tag us, we'll find it, we'll reshare it, we'll comment, whatever we need to do. That is our marketing powerhouse, LinkedIn. And again, if you want to give us some information about how we're doing this, how the ISIN is working for you, what else we could be doing, please go to this Tell Us link and let us know. Have a productive week. This is the first real week of the new year, so make sure it's working for you and not the other way around.